Welcome to the Medical Device Made Easy podcast. Here is Munir Lazouzi from easymedicaldevice.com. And today we'll talk about software as medical device, but in terms of globalization. So we have some companies that are developing their software. They are registering their software within their countries or their region. And then they want to expand to go globally. And there I can say that some problems will arrive. So I have with me Stéphane Berger, so Regulatory Affairs Manager for Avicenna, and he will help us to understand that. So Stéphane, welcome to the Medical Device Made Easy podcast.
Hello, Monia. Thank you for your invitation.
You're welcome. So Stéphane, we had a discussion and mainly we discussed about the globalization of medical devices and software in particularly. So and it's why we are making this episode, because it was really interesting all what you told me, and it's important maybe to share this information also with people and to see how this can be helping them to progress also. But before to dig inside this topic, so can you just make a small introduction of yourself so that we have a better understanding of who you are?
Yes, sure. My name is Stéphane Berger. I am the Regulatory Affairs Manager at Avicenna. I have 25 years experience in the industry, more especially in the semiconductor world and in the medical device ultrasound imaging world. I was a BSI auditor 2 years ago, and our company Avicenna is a small startup who distribute software as medical device product in more than 40 countries today, and this is product dedicated to the urgency pathology in the CT scan imaging world.
Exactly. So and just to disclose everything, so we are Easy Medical Device is your partner for the different region, for authorized representative in the region. So just to also mention that it's why we know each other and we know about the products there. Exactly. So in terms of software as medical device, as we said, so we have actually the challenge in Europe because we have to register now in Switzerland also, plus also in the UK because there is Brexit, Swixit, etc. But we have also the other regions that we are trying to go for. But first, in terms of the registration, like just in Europe, we have a lot of changes that were happening for software as medical devices. So can we just maybe have maybe just a few list of things that where there is kind of some revolution or some change in technologies in software that makes it difficult or challenging or that change the rules for medical devices?
Yeah, sure. So today the medical software, the software as medical device, exactly, is a term that we are using for worldwide. I would say this is a term coming from the FDA, and when we are in Europe, we are using the medical device software. This is the two different terms that have been used, and there is small differences in the approach. But if we consider globally this kind of device, in Europe, the classification of all these devices was mainly class 1 under the MDD. And with the coming of the MDR, there is a lot of changes, and now all these software are now at minimum of class 2A. And when we know that most of countries are recognized in the past MDD classification, it changed also worldwide, because most of countries are now considering the fact to have a new classification. So sometimes they stay with the MDD classification. Sometimes they try to implement the MDR classification. Sometimes they, like in Switzerland, they decide to recognize the FDA classification. So really, this is the challenge that is coming in the coming months.
Exactly, and so we are actually in the MDR. There are still some transition period, which means that we have already some software that were MDD class 1 that continue to be MDD class 1 until the end of this transition period. So we have some. It's not stable actually, but to add to that, to this instability, we have new technologies that arrives in software like artificial intelligence, machine learning, etc. So this makes it more difficult also for regulators. I mean, not for the companies that are creating, but for regulators to understand how they have to organize all that.
Yes, you're right. And so today, when we say artificial intelligence, this is a big word for something that is today more simple, I would say, because most of what we call the IEMD, the artificial intelligence medical device, are in fact machine learning algorithm or deep learning algorithm, and they are not really artificial intelligence. So today there is no real continuous learning software that exists in the field. It starts to arrive, but it's not real. It's not a reality, and it will be. So we know that the regulators are working on this subject with the coming IE Act that is coming. We know that also the ISO standard is working on an actual IE QMS. So today, when you are a medical device company, you have to follow the 13485 standard. You have to follow most of times the ISO 27001 standard for the cyber security and the security of the information. And now they are working on a standard, on the QMS for artificial intelligence. So there is a lot of complexity that are coming to try to regulate this artificial intelligence world. And some countries in the world try to be in advance to Europe, especially to Europe, because Europe does not really have guidance for this specific device. In US, you have some specific category for this kind of device. In Singapore, in Australia, you have some specific guidance also. But in Europe, clearly, this is we are a little bit behind in terms of regulation.
And I suppose that these differences in the different countries and also inside Europe is difficult for regulators. We have maybe some regulators that are aware of all this and they are maybe ahead and they know exactly what to ask. Some that have no clue what we are talking about and are maybe more like this. So I suppose that manufacturers that are listening to us, that are manufacturing a medical device, software as a medical device that has those kind of technologies, may be confronted to some auditors that are not really up to date, if I can say, on all this. And it's normal. I'm not blaming anybody. It's normal because, as I said, it's not a stable situation. So do you, as Avicenna, do you have had, if I can say, those kind of situations?
Yeah, sure. Because when we are audited, you need to have an auditor who have the qualification for the QMS. So normally, this one for the 13485, this is not an issue. But then you are making software, so you need to have the qualification to be able to understand the 62304 and the 82304 for the software as medical device. They also need to be qualified. In our case, we are MDSAP, so they also need to have the MDSAP qualification code. So when you had all this qualification, it starts to be a very reduced number of auditors that can audit you. And in the future, if you consider that in addition of that, they need also to be qualified with the future Act that is coming, maybe the IQMS also, then for sure, finding a notified body is complex, but now it will add the complexity because the number of notified bodies is very reduced. And it will be more and more with all this requested qualification that will come. So I think this is a big challenge for all the new company in the choice of their notified body.
Exactly. And as we said, we are in transition, so there are a lot of things that can happen. Nothing is stable here in if I can say, in Europe. What about, I mean, as we talk about globalization, so Europe is a place, a macro environment where we have this kind of situation. We are also talking a lot about the US, mainly because US are also in advance in some of those elements, those guidances, a lot of discussion about those kind of software, etc. So can we make a comparison? So do you think like US is at the same stage as us or higher, or what is exactly your understanding on this?
I think US is a little bit in advance because there is a long time ago that they consider and that they have product code for software as medical device and especially for artificial intelligence device. So when you enter the US market, so you have different pathway. You have the PMEs, the de novo, and most of company who are not really innovative and try to follow what exists, use the 510K clearance pathway. And for when you choose this pathway, you have to choose an existing product code, and you have some product code dedicated to the radiology imaging, and depending on what kind of detection you want to do, you will have specific product code, and it doesn't exist in other countries.
Exactly. So US and EU are mainly the most recognized, if I can say, standards or most recognized regulations in also other countries. I know that if you go to some countries like Maghreb, or if you go to some countries that have no regulation or lower regulation, they recognize CE marking or US FDA, those kind of things. So is there really a chance here for some manufacturers to say, if it is recognized, it's better to go to those countries than to go to a country that is not recognizing those standards?
Yes, for sure. Today, the global the startup model is that what is changing today is that when you have this kind of algorithm, you are not distributing the medical device like when you are distributing the hardware.
Yeah.
Because when you are distributing the hardware, you are going with local distributors who know the local rules, and most of the time you give them the responsibility for the registration, etc. Here with software, you are most of the time using marketplace who distribute globally, and you are in charge of registration in all these countries. And so the strategy to register more globally in all these countries is to identify what is recognized. What is recognized is the CE mark and the FDA clearance that are recognized in most of countries. So the best strategy is first to try to go with the FDA or with the CE mark, but we know that with MDR today, it's maybe simpler to go with the FDA before trying to go in other countries, because they will recognize this clearance and it will be easier to enter this market.
Exactly. So, for example, when you are, let's say that you are outside of Europe and you are then getting a CE mark for your products. If you want to go inside of Europe, it's the same. You have to find an authorized representative. You have to find also sometimes importers, etc. So you are located in France, and you are selling also in Switzerland and in the UK, for example. And for example, as we said, Easy Medical Device is your partner. So was it difficult for you to make this change? Because before it was like a one region with everything. Now it's moving to 3 regions, to 3 different regulations, 3 different things. So was this also a big challenge for you to move to these new rules?
Yeah, sure. This is you have to follow. You have to have a regulatory watch worldwide, because you as a regulatory affair manager, you are supposed to know all the regulation in the world. Exactly. Where you want to go, and this is the biggest issue. So so for sure, as everything is changing, this is most of the time challenging to follow all these changes, and yes, it's difficult. But so if we come back to the example of US, so you took the example of Switzerland, maybe we'll come back later on. But for US, you need to have a US agent, and you need and normally you need also a national importer. Exactly. In our case, as we are a software, this is a dematerialized product, so this is not mandatory. The national importer is not mandatory, but the US agent is mandatory, and most of the time it's you need to choose someone who is located in US. You have no choice. And you need to also have someone who has the ability to discuss to FDA.
So it's equivalent to the authorized representative in Europe or UK or Switzerland or what we are doing here, yeah.
Exactly. This is this model that was in US that have been reproduced in Europe and most of countries now.
Hey, just a second. Do you need a EU, Swiss or UK representative? Then choose Easy Medical Device. We can represent you and also become your importer. Contact us at eo@easymedicaldevice.com. So the difficulty, I mean, it's the same as, so we talk about US, Swiss or UK, but if you go to Saudi Arabia, if you go to, I don't know, to Brazil or any other regions, mainly they have all the same rules to have a representative in the region, to have somebody there. Mainly just to explain the idea for that is mainly that if the manufacturer is doing something wrong or its product is, if I can say, doing bad in the country, they have to have a representative that is kind of liable for what's happening to the products. So if this representative is in the country, then it's more easy for them to sue them or to do something with them or to have somebody on hand, if I can say, to talk to. Then if the manufacturer is in China and the product is in Brazil, so then it can be maybe difficult to have those kind of discussion here. So this is mainly the objective here. So you, for example, as Avicenna, you have to find a representative in each of those regions one by one, I suppose.
Exactly. This is the biggest challenge because you can choose a big company that provide an offer to most of countries, but most of time the business model is not adapted to the startup company like us. So the easiest way for us is to find really partners in each of these countries to be able to be our marketing authorized representative. And this is a challenge because it's not always easy. When you want to go to some countries are requesting and it's mandatory. In some other countries, you can go without having the local authorized representative.
For example, do you have examples?
Yeah, for example, in Canada, you don't need a local authorized representative.
Okay.
You can, for the case of Avicenna, we have MDIL, so a license for the establishment, and so we can go by ourselves. Then we have distributors, but we don't need the market authorized representative in the country.
Okay. Any other country?
In other country where we need a marketing authorized representative.
Yeah, where we don't need, yeah.
Where we don't need, I don't have some in mind.
I mean, it's really rare to have a country that is not requiring that. So when you have one, it's really something that you have to go for, but it's really rare. And as you've said, also you have the difficulty to find a representative. Maybe you have also difficulty because in this region, the regulation is different than in Europe. So you have also to change something on the packaging sometime. I remember that we had some countries that says, like in Asia, that they need some additional tests for some products, maybe not software, but for some products. So you have also to deal with those, if I can say, differences where CE marking is maybe accepted, but maybe they have a new layer of information that is needed, which can be the difficulty also for you because you want to have one product that can match everybody so that it's better. But here you have to have one product that is matching this country, one with this country, one with this country, which can be also really the challenge for your company.
Yeah, exactly. And this is why you need to have the local representative who knows very well the local rules and who can help you to transform your technical file in the local requirement, because most of the time it's challenging also to understand what they need, and there is some specific requests sometimes that it's difficult to understand because I can give an example. I am trying to register in Thailand at this time, and in Thailand they request on the labeling to have the quantity 1 to be on the label. For a software, it's strange to have to put this, and I try to negotiate, but no, they need this number of quantity on the labeling. So we put it, but yeah, this is this kind of thing that with a specific competent authority, you will have some requests that are, I would say, strange.
And you just said, for example, in Canada, you don't need a representative, but you have a distributor there. What are we, when we are talking about a distributor for a software, does it mean that you have to send your software to a server that is within this distributor, and then from there it goes to the other people? Or how is it working exactly, this logistic of software also?
It really depends. In our case, we have a business to a B2B model, but then you have different kind of distribution, network. It could be, as I said, with marketplace. So marketplace is like an app store on the mobile phone, but this is an app store for the hospital. And now they have a lot of software application available in this marketplace. So the marketplace is the distributor.
Okay.
And most of times this is a non-medical device platform, and they propose medical device on their platform. And so this is why, as a medical device manufacturer, we need to be able to register in each country where they want to distribute the product.
Okay. And in terms of regulations, we talked a lot about US, CE marking, etc., FDA. There is one regulation that people don't really understand, apparently, which is MDSAP. So mainly, MDSAP is a medical device single audit program, and there are 5 countries that are inside: US, Brazil, Canada, Australia, Japan. So some people think, oh, if I am MDSAP, then I'm registered in all those countries. So what is your experience about that?
So my experience is that MDSAP is useful, but most of the time it's not well understood. As a former BSI MDSAP auditor, I discovered that most of the time the customer were wanted to be MDSAP without understanding what will be the benefits of being MDSAP and having a MDSAP certificate. So MDSAP is really dedicated to the QMS. So it's the equivalent of the 13485, but it's recognized by, as you say, 5 countries that are members. And we have affiliate members also, like Singapore, like Korea, that recognize some part of the MDSAP, not the global evaluation, but they recognize some aspect. And some observers like CE and UK, and we could expect that in the future they will recognize also the MDSAP, and it will simplify the way of recognition of your QMS worldwide. But today, this is just a recognition of your QMS for these countries. And it doesn't help you to register your product in the countries. Even if having this certificate sometime will help, but this is not official. It will not give you access to the market. You will still need to register in US, in Brazil, in Australia. And you will just need to give this MDSAP certificate to prove that your QMS is compatible with the 13485 requirement and the local requirement also.
And I have participated in some of the MDSAP certification for some of the customers. One of the questions that are within the MDSAP certificate, for example, if you want to go to Japan, to Brazil, or whatever, they ask you for the process of registration of your products within those countries. And some of them said, but have you initiated that? And the answer is no, so then it's not compliant, if I can say. So the point is also that you have to have initiated maybe the discussion with an authorized representative or so a member there. You have to show that the process is in place. It's not just like, oh, I plan in maybe 5 years to register in Japan so that I want to have my MDSAP for Japan while I'm not doing anything for Japan for the moment.
Yeah, exactly. To pass the chapter 2, you need to prove that you have the market authorization, or if you don't have at the time of the audit, if this is your first audit, you need to prove that you have started the process, so that you have identified a sponsor in Australia and that you have determined your classification in this specific region, and that you have in hands all what is needed to perform the registration in this country that you want in your jurisdiction for the MDSAP certificate.
No, I think it's great. So I hope, yeah, this clarifies the thing about MDSAP, because we have a lot of people that say, oh, let's be MDSAP for that. But for globalization of your software, it helps in terms of quality management system, but there are some limits.
If I can add something on MDSAP, so what will be the benefits of being MDSAP is that with the FDA, for example, you will limit the number of audit by the FDA, the standard audit by the FDA, because they recognize the MDSAP certification, but it will not avoid the unintended audit. So FDA could go at your door and say, hello, it's the FDA, we need to audit you. So it's not because you are MDSAP that you will avoid that. FDA could come. In addition to your notified body also that will audit you for the MDSAP, they could perform an unattended audit for the CE mark. But in addition, you could have the FDA that could come at any time.
Yeah, so just maybe also for people that are startups and don't have this experience. So if you are a company that is registering in many countries, the point is that those countries, the MH in those countries can come and audit you. So the objective of MDSAP was to reduce this number, because mainly you had some companies, and I know some of them that were kind of audited every week, because they are supplying products to other manufacturers, and then they had to do that. So it was really a burden for them. They had to hire even one additional person resource just to manage those audits, because every week they had an audit from all notified bodies unannounced, or notified bodies announced, or MH or authorities from all over the world coming. So at the end, it's like 1 week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks of audits per year, so which is really a nightmare. So this is also to try to avoid that, to reduce this kind of footprint. So in terms of all the discussion here about this, so for you, as you are, if I can say, on the game, and you are trying to register, so what will be the kind of advices that you would provide to the people that are trying to go to multiple countries, that are really trying to register their software, or maybe it can be also valid for hardware devices? So from your experience, what can we take here as a good, maybe, or bad, or something to improve here?
So first of all, this is to have a global regulatory watch, which consider all the countries where you want to go, all the standards in one hand, and all the countries' requirements also, to understand the classification in each of these countries. As I said at the beginning, most of countries are recognizing the MDD classification, but things are changing. We can name, for example, the UK with the Brexit.
Yeah.
So now UK is changing also and try to have the same classification than the MDR.
Exactly.
When you were class 1 in UK, now you become to be class 2A, class 2B in UK, and you will need your UKCA mark with this classification. We also discussed about Swiss. We recognize now the FDA clearance. For Australia, for example, they tried to integrate the clinical decision system approach from the FDA. And there was some exemption under the Article 14. It was very interesting for some companies to try to go. And now there is a new guidance for software as medical device. And today they try to align with the MDR, and they are even stronger than the CE MDR.
Okay.
In our example, for example, we have some products that are 2A under the MDR, but in Australia they are 2B.
Okay.
So this is another. We also have the Brazil who change and change the classification and try to implement some to increase the classification. And you still have some countries that continue to be exempted, like for example Mexico and Vietnam for software as medical device. But we know that things are changing very fast. So I think it's good to have also local representative in these countries to make sure that when the change occurs, you can follow the change, because you can be sure that they will follow what happened globally, and they will also increase their classification.
Exactly.
And the last point to accept the classification is really to consider also the grouping, because you have, depending on the part of the world when you want to go, you have some group of countries. So for example, in Asia, you have the ASEAN,
exactly.
ASEAN, so the medical device directive for many Asiatic countries that is recognized. If you want to go in the Latin market, you need also to consider the Mercosur group, which is a group of South American countries. And if you want to go in the Middle East, there is not really a group, but you need to consider first the Saudi FDA classification and requirement, because this is recognized with most of countries from the Gulf. So this is, I think, the best advice I can give.
No, it's great. And I think, as we said, so the difficulty is having a person there that can help, that can also guide you and provide the regulatory update, to find this person that can register your product or act as your representative there, etc. So this is for software, it's existing, but also for other technologies. So it's mainly something that we have to maybe improve. I just wanted also to take this opportunity with this episode with you also to maybe ask the audience if they have a list of people or companies that can represent so some manufacturers in the different countries. If they can send that to me, I'm trying to create this database of information so that we can share, because as we said, so this can serve to other manufacturers, and this can serve also to those representatives that want to also get some business. So if you have some lists, so just tell me the country and the name of the people, and the idea is for me, for example, to contact them and to see if we can make them in the list and see if they are really able to support customers, and if they have maybe some specific customers that they can support. So the idea is to really create this database. So don't hesitate to share that with me, and I will try to make that happen. And I hope, we can disclose that also to the people. Stéphane, anything else to conclude with this podcast episode?
No, what I can say is that we are very happy with the ED Medical Device representation in UK and in Swiss. And so today, I hope that this database will exist, and that will be simpler for us to contact marketing authorization holder over the world. What I can add is just if anyone has a question, to connect on my LinkedIn, because I try to publish all this regulatory watch and information globally, and I think this is it will be helpful also for me to have the feedback from people, because for sure sometimes I can make mistake. It is very difficult to follow globally and know worldwide all the requirements. So I try to share a maximum to also have in feedback the return from anyone to help us progress together.
No problem. So I will put all the information on the show notes, so that you can go directly there and find the LinkedIn profile of Stéphane. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate. If you have also some questions that are maybe related to software, AI, etc. So I think Stéphane can also help you. And if you want also to check what is Avicenna providing, so you can also go to their website. I will put everything on the show notes also. Okay, so Stéphane, it was really a pleasure to have you. Thank you also for all the information, and I hope this will help also other manufacturers that are going to the same route as you to register globally, to understand the difficulties and then maybe to overcome them. But we are here to, if there is any question anyway. So thank you for that, and thank you for participation of this podcast.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Bye.